Hi guys, JB and Minot here, and this is my pickups video for the last 3 months of April, May, and June. And it's been a while since I made a video. I don't know why I stopped, but I just got lazy, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to start with the PlayStation stuff. I'll probably do this in several different parts. You know, I'll give you something to do for the afternoon. If I try to show all the video games I bought for these past 3 months, it would probably be a really long video. So let's get started. The first game is a PS Vita game. The last PS Vita game I bought for a while is Hue. It's a great puzzle platformer game. What it is you have to you're on a platforms and you're trying to collect different palettes. You have this palette controller, and you have to collect different colors for it as the game goes on. What you do with this palette is you use the color palette to change the background. That way you can get past certain obstacles. For example, if you have a pink block, you change the background to a pink and it erases the block so that you can get past the block. Or if you need a red block to move somewhere, well, you change the background to a red, or you change the background to another color and the red shows up and you can move the block. And that's what this is. It's from Limited Run Games, so it's a little bit more expensive. I can't remember what I paid for it, but it's pretty good. I like it. This is a licensed game from the last Rocky game before the Creed movies. This is a basic fighting game, sports fighting game. This is a game based on a Cartoon Network TV show, Secret Saturdays, Beasts of the Fifth Sun. It's a fighter type game, kind of like the Avengers games. And you can get PSP games really cheap on Amazon.com, even some of the newer ones, even some of the ones that are unsealed. I got this Gretzky NHL 06. The Golden Compass, this is sealed. It's based on the movie that was done with Nicole Kidman. And that was based off the, I guess now classic, book series. It was supposed to be an answer to not the Screwtape Chronicles. Oh, what are those? The Narnia Chronicles. But it didn't do well. It was supposed to be a trilogy, but the movie bombed. This is based on the movie version, and they've got, I guess, a TV show now on HBO. This was based, I believe, on a movie or on a TV show. Legend of the Dragon. It's a fighting game. Had I known it was a fighting game, I'd have probably bought this last. Pocket Racers. It's a racing game. A rather weird racing game from what I gather from the plot. Astro Boy, the video game. This was based on the 2009 movie, I do believe, where they took Astro Boy and they tried to make him a little more hip. I apologize, this box is broken. But they tried to make him hip and cool, and it was very Americanized. Now, if you want a good Astro Boy game, a great Astro Boy game, get Astro Boy, the Omega Factor for the Game Boy Advance. It's a great fighting game, platformer game, shooting game. It's a very fun game, but this one I haven't played so far, but it's based on the movie. This is from Disney Pixar, WALL-E. One of the great animated movies of all time, if not one of the great movies of all time. Shaolin Showdown, based on an obscure cartoon from Warner Brothers, I believe. I might be, wait a minute, no. Yeah, from Warner Brothers, a long time ago, and it's sealed. Like I said, I got these relatively cheap. And this was based on an animated movie starring Ashton Kutcher. And I forget who the other voice was. Open Season. Okay, and that's it for the Sony products. Okay, now on to the Wii games. These games I got for less than 30 bucks, I do believe. I don't know how much I paid for this one, but I'm going to start with these. Cabela's Survival, Shadows of Katmai. It's a survival game, but it's mostly a bunch of shooting simulators, shooting gallery type activities. You're trying to survive this mountain, but it's a little bit different from other Cabela games. It's got a story to it, which is weird, but you know, it only cost me $4, so I said, what the heck. This is a first-person shooter, Marines, Modern Urban Combat. I love this one doesn't have a manual to it, but like I said, it's a first-person shooter, and the Wii was lousy with first-person shooters. It had a bunch of them. I don't know why there aren't more first-person shooters out there. I mean, not first-person shooters, but shooting gallery type games out there. I think the Wii was perfect for it. That's what I love about the Wii. I wish they could have released Crisis Zone for the Wii or the Wii U. That would be awesome. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. I love Crisis Zone games, but they haven't released one in a while. Flips, Twisted World. This is a puzzler platformer. What it is, it starts as a platformer, and what you do is you flick your wrist, and it flips the world he's on upside down, and it changes the game to a whole different dynamic, depending on where you're at and what you have to accomplish. It's from Majesco, so they're either hit or miss. And it only cost me $7. This one I bought because one of the Metal Jesus crews, members of the Metal Jesus crew, recommended it, I think. The Core Gang, Outvision from Inner Earth. It appears to be an action-adventure game. They say it looks really gorgeous from the screenshots I'm seeing. Okay, that's it for the Wii games from the month of April, June, and May. Now on to the NES and Super NES games. I always buy them really cheap. I don't care to spend a whole lot of money. This is called Mendel Palace from Hudson Soft. And what it is, the story is the guy's girlfriend has been kidnapped. You know, very original. Anyway, this guy, what he does is on the floor, there are a bunch of panels. He's being chased by these dolls. They're trying to collide into him. What he has to do is he has to hit the panel in front of these dolls to shoot them back against the wall to destroy them. Or he can flip over some of the panels on the floor and it gives him special powers. Maybe an extra life. Maybe it automatically kills a bunch of them. Maybe it just launches them back more. Stuff like that. It's a puzzle game from what I understand. And it looks pretty cool. Werewolf. The Last Warrior. This appears to be a fighting game starting a werewolf. A 2D fighting game where you're fighting different monsters as a werewolf. Super Pitfall. A sequel to Pitfall. Now for some Super NES games. Excuse me. The Adventures of Mighty Max. You basically go around these rooms and you're trying to find certain items before you can leave the rooms. That's basically it, but they're very big rooms, and it's based on a TV show, an animated TV show somewhere. I don't know where they showed it, but that's where it's from. And back in the day, back in the 90s, where everything was extreme to the max and all that other garbage. So, Mickey Mania. The Timeless Adventures of Mickey Mouse. This is a platformer type game starring Mickey Mouse. Beavis and Butthead. This is a fighting game starring Beavis and Butthead. And sometimes they have squirt guns and whatnot to fend off the bad guys. They go from room to room. The Last Action Hero, based on the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 90s. His first real big bomb, which actually I haven't seen to this day. Well, I don't know if it was actually a bomb. I know it was a disappointment. I know the critics hated it. But it's basically a fighting game starring his character. Toys, based on the film directed by Barry Levinson, who directed Rain Man, believe it or not, and Avalon. And it stars Robin Williams, Joan Cusack, LL Cool J, and Michael Gambon. The game's basically his character in red, walking around, blowing up bombs and trying to find certain items in a room. The rooms all look the same pretty much. And the movie itself is absolute garbage. It's a big hot mess. It's stupid. It looks good, but it's just a crappy movie. Todd McFarlane's Spawn, the video game. This is basically a platformer fighter game starring Spawn. It looks real good, but it looks also repetitive, especially the jumping and whatnot. Great puzzle game. I already got it on the Game Boy. Zoop. What it is you have a cannon in the middle of the screen, and on the side of the screen in different columns you have blocks building up randomly, and different colored blocks. And what you have to do is you have to turn the cannon to shoot these blocks before they get too full. Once it gets past a certain line, the game is over. It's a great puzzle game, action puzzle game. Kind of reminds you of Tetris. The gameplay is a little different, but it's still, you know, reminiscent of Tetris. A lot of those games were like that back then. Tetris was a big influence on a lot of puzzle games. Now it's on to some other handheld games. One Game Gear game, which I got from Retro Game Treasure. The last package from Retro Game Treasure I'm ever going to get, because they tried to make me add more consoles to my list because they didn't want to. What they wanted to do was they wanted to keep scraping the bottom of the barrel. I do not recommend any more Retro Game Treasure. They're a bunch of dicks. They wanted me to add another console because they couldn't find. They could find more games for the Super NES and the Game Gear. They just didn't want to get the more expensive ones that actually added up to $40. And they wanted to send me, if it were up to them, they'd send me all the sports titles they could, and they would send all the Disney ones. So, but there's that. This is T2, Terminator 2, The Judgment Day. It's a shooting gallery type game, which doesn't work out very good for the Game Gear. I already have it for the Game Boy anyway, so. This is a Game Boy Color game technically, but you can play it on the Game Boy. Godzilla, the series. You're basically walking from side to side as Godzilla. You're shooting down helicopters and airplanes, but it seems awfully slow to me. It's like not very exciting. Okay, now for some Game Boy games. Disney's Pocahontas. She basically climbs everywhere. I bought it for $5, and I've looked at. I didn't notice any kind of enemies anywhere. I didn't see any kind of challenge. Just her jumping everywhere, platforming everywhere, and the platforms didn't really look that difficult. So this might not even be worth buying for $5. Spanky's Quest. And I believe this is a kind of a bubble bobble type game where you're trying to find certain items. You're trying to find a key to a bunch of different rooms to get out of those rooms. And you have to accomplish certain tasks. And you have to kill enemies and whatnot to get to the keys. Tom and Jerry. It's a basic platformer starring Jerry the Mouse. Based on the old classic cartoons. When cartoons were actually funny. Judge Dredd, based off the movie starring Sylvester Stallone and Ron Schneider, based on the comic book. The movie was absolute garbage. This is basically a shooter game, and a very slow-paced one at that. The first one was absolute garbage, but the one Dredd starring, what's-his-face, the guy from The Boys, Carl Urban, was excellent. Hopefully they'll make a sequel to it someday. Even he wants to make a sequel, but it's been a while, so they might not be able to ever. But Carl Urban's pretty popular on The Boys, so maybe he'll have that clout to get that made. I mean, it's already been renewed for a 3rd season. Tom and Jerry Mouse Hunt. I think what this is, Tom and Jerry are competing to capture mice. Jerry the Mouse is trying to free mice, whereas the cat is trying to capture them, and they have a time limit, and whoever accomplishes the most of what they need to do in that time limit is the winner. Army Men 2, of course everybody knows about the Army Men games. They're action shooters, 3D action shooters. And there were a bunch of them on the Game Boy. I'm surprised I don't have more. Cartoon Network's Scooby-Doo, classic Creep Capers. This is a point-and-click adventure game starring the Scooby-Doo gang. Okay guys, those are my Game Boy Advance, and Game Gear games for the past 3 months. Now I go on to the 3DS and the DS games. My second largest list here. So most of them are licensed games, which is a lot of shovelware. But you know, I've been told I'm addicted to shovelware, so. Transformers Dark of the Moon Stealth Force Edition. And it's got a manual and the case, of course. And I think this is a tie-in to the second or third Transformers movie. I don't remember. The only Transformers movie that was any good was the first one. It had some charm to it. Kind of reminded you a little bit of Steven Spielberg. But after that, they were just loud noise. I think I fell asleep during the fourth or fifth one. I don't know. Here's a two for one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's got Master Splinter's Training Pack. It's got the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Danger of the Ooze. SpongeBob SquarePants, Plankton's Robotic Revenge. This one doesn't have a manual, just the game. I can't believe the number of SpongeBob SquarePants games there are. I can't believe, I think he's over 20 years old now. I think his character is. This was for $5. Disney's Up. Disney Pixar Up. It's got the manual and the game. Great movie. One of the great movies of all time, I think. Classic movies. And it's one of only 3 animated films to be nominated for Best Picture. Not Best Animated Feature, but Best Picture. Along with Toy Story 3 and Beauty and the Beast. Another Walt Disney film. Or Disney film, excuse me. Walt Disney's been dead for 50-something years, and they kind of forgot his legacy. Bolt. And I've got these because they're real cheap. Space Camp. It's a bunch of little mini games to educate kids on space travel. It's even got the Space Camp, official Space Camp logo on it. And it's got... At first I thought this was Space Chimp, because I believe there was a movie called Space Chimp, and I think there are a few games based on that. Johnny Bravo, the Hunka Mega Mighty Ultra Extreme Datorama. I bought this. It's basically a bunch of mini games starring Johnny Bravo. Transformers Prime, the game. And I need to learn to take off these stupid price tags. They're a pain in the butt. Disney, Cory in the House. I guess Cory's some kind of secret agent. Monster High, Ghoul Spirit. I think these are based on toys, if I'm not mistaken. Monster High, Ghoul Spirit. You are the new ghoul at school. My Amusement Park. It's an amusement park building game. And it's based off the old classic PC games that were popular in the 90s. Transformers Animated, the game. I guess there was an animated Transformers. I mean, before. I mean, I'm talking a new one. Not the old one from the 80s. I'm talking the newer ones after the movies were made. The daring game for girls. I believe there's also a daring game for boys somewhere. But this is based off the popular book. Bunch of mini games based off the books. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nightmare. This doesn't have a manual, just got the game. This was a tie-in for the movie done with Julia Roberts, the new Charlotte's Web movie, not the old one from the 70s, based off the classic kids novel from, I think, the 30s or 40s. Hot Wheels, beat that, a Hot Wheels game. Amf Bowling Pin Busters. I like bowling, but every time I try to go, I suck at it. Last week I tried to go bowling, and I swear to God, I hit one strike. I played, I think, 3 games. I hit one strike and not one spare. They were all open lanes. That's how bad I was. They were all mostly gutter balls. I just suck at bowling. Plus, my back really can't take it anymore. My mom used to bowl a lot. M&M's Adventure, starring the M&M's guys. They had quite a few games out there too. There was on the DS a while back an Angry Birds clone starring the M&M's guys characters. So, El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera. He is a luchador, I believe. It's from Nickelodeon. And this has the manual. This was based off the movie that was based on the cartoon that was based on the anime from the 60s, from the Wachowski brothers. This got a lot of flack when it came out, but I thought it was a very underrated movie. I thought it was very charming. Speed Racer, starring John Goodman and Emil Hirsch. I forget the guy's last name, but like I said, I thought it was a very underrated movie. I thought it was very charming. But this is a racing game starring that character, starring Speed Racer. And I remember the anime from when I was a kid, back before they called it anime. Monster Mayhem, build a monster, save the world. This is a fighting game where you create different monsters to compete against each other. Kind of a bad Pokemon clone, only without the walking around, without the... I guess you're supposed to explore, but I don't know. We'll have to see. And last but not least for the DS games, The Tale of Despereaux, which was a licensed tie-in from the movie based on the book. I don't think the movie made... I don't know if I've ever seen it. I think the movie starred Matthew Broderick as Despereaux, if I'm not mistaken. But I guess the book is classic, but I guess the movie didn't make much money, because I think there was more than one book, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, those are my 3DS and my DS games from the past 3 months. And now, last but not least, my Switch games for the past 3 months of April, May, and June. And there are a lot of them. So, let's get started. I bought this, I had to buy this from PlayAsia. I couldn't find it anywhere else. And it was actually cheaper from PlayAsia than it was anywhere else. This is Atari Flashback Classics. A lot of classic games from the 1600. I'd love to see an Activision collection like that, because they got a bunch of them. But you got from the 2600 to the 5200 and some arcade games. You can't go wrong if you love the old Atari games. They're simple, but they're fun for historical purposes. Zombie Army Trilogy. This is by the same team, the same group anyway, published by the same group that made the Sniper Elite games that usually take place in World War II. And this one looks like it takes place in World War II. They say it's got 20 levels, 3 campaigns, and It looks to be basically a Sniper Elite game with zombies instead of just human beings. But I love the Sniper Elite games. They piss me off, but I like them. Xenoblade Chronicles. This started out as a game on the Wii that for some reason was rare and hard to find. And then they made a version for the new 3DS. And then they started making sequels for the Switch. Now they have Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition for the Switch. Which is kind of a difficult game to grasp my head around, the battle system. But I kind of like that, though. I like a battle system that's not just make your choice, attack, magic, item, whatnot. But you have to stop in the middle of the battle and figure out actually take the time to figure out what you're going to do instead of just swing, batter, or doing a wide attack or a short attack or what have you. I like it. My Hero, One's Justice 2. I think these stayed a little bit expensive for a little bit too long. It's based on the anime that people seem to love. I haven't watched anime for a while because I think most of them suck nowadays. Anyway, this is a sequel. It's a fighting game with a bunch of different characters from that anime. One Piece, Pirate Warriors 4. This is a Dynasty Warriors type game starring One Piece characters. I like One Piece except for some of the characters. Sometimes they get a little bit whiny, especially that deer doctor. I hate that character, you know. I'm not big into anime and I haven't watched this in years, but he's part of the reason I haven't watched it in years. I just want to kill that deer and eat it. This is a very strange game to describe. It's one of the more beautiful games I've ever seen. You have to buy it from Best Buy via limited run. Gora Goa. It's a bunch of different pictures, and you have to interact with the pictures to figure out, because you got this character who has to figure out, he's trying to get from one place to another, and you have to either move these pictures around to where they match and he can get to the next area, or you have to cover the pictures one over another. That reveals another part, another piece of the puzzle. It's very hard to describe, but it's a very beautiful game. I think it was done by one guy. And they say it's a very short game. I've gotten partway through it, but it's a beautiful game. If you like puzzle games, you can't go wrong. Dungeon of the Endless. This is a mixture between a real world type game, real world strategy type game, and a rogue dungeon game. You basically send your guys out to certain rooms, and they decide what to do in those rooms. They shoot, or they fight, or they pick up stuff, and you just got to make sure you send them to the right room at the right time. At the main time, you have to guard some things. And you start off with 2 characters. I think eventually you end up with 4. It's kind of difficult to start off with. I'm on the very easy mode because it can get tough real fast. This is a game I've been playing. I love Fallout 4. I love that game. It's one of my favorite games. A lot of people, you know, don't like it as much, but I like it. Fallout 4 for the PS4. I wish they'd do that for the Switch, but this is from the same guys. This is basically Fallout 4 in outer space, the outer worlds. You're stuck on this spaceship and you land on this planet, and you've been asleep for decades, and you're basically doing different missions around these planets, and I think you can go from planet to planet. I'm on the first planet right now. I assume there's a big boss battle I gotta fight to get off this planet, but there's that. A lot of critics are down on this version because the graphics aren't as good, but I'm more into gameplay anyway, and I really enjoy the gameplay. It's really fun. So this game was popular enough, I guess, to spawn 3 sequels. Disaster Report, Summer Memories, and it's a survival game after a disaster, a big earthquake, but it seems like there's more talk than there is actual doing in this game. And the graphics aren't much to speak about either. Trials of Mana. This is a game I think that was in Japan, but never quite made its way to the States till now. Well, it actually did in the last Mana. But this is a remastered version. And it's fun, but it's kind of easy. There's not much difficulty to it. It's awfully linear. Here's a tennis game, just Tennis World Tour. Very simple. Roller Coaster Tycoon Adventures. It's like the classic roller coaster tycoon games, only this one has an adventure mode on it. I don't know what that entails. I had to buy it off Amazon.com. Railway Empire. You're a railroad tycoon, pretty much. Kind of in the vein of SimCity. But it's got a lot of DLC in it too. Oddworld, Stranger's Wrath. You're kind of a bounty hunter, I do believe. But you have different kinds of ammunition made of animals that do different things. It's a really weird Western motif, only you're an alien type thing. Platformer, shooter, etc. A lot of puzzling in this game. I enjoy it. Moving Out. This is in the vein of Overcooked. You're basically a mover, and what you have to do is use funny physics to move things from houses so that you can move them from one place to another, and you got to fit them on your truck somehow. And different items have different shapes, which makes them different. You got to stack them awkwardly and whatnot. And it's pretty fun so far, but the physics are like crazy. It can be crazy difficult, but it's got a lot of charm. Here's a game I love. If you like Stranger Things, you'll love Stranger Things, the game. You basically take control of 3 characters at a time from the show, and each character has a different ability. It's a lot of basically beat-em-up type actions, but there's a lot of exploring, there's a lot of side quests, there's a lot of puzzler elements to it, like there's the puzzlers I'm working on right now. You got one character, you got 2 characters at a time, and you're trying to turn on some lights, and you got to control both characters at the same time in the right place to make sure. But this is from Limited Run Games, and if you got Netflix and you haven't seen Stranger Things, you got to check it out. They're coming out with a new season pretty soon here. Everybody's acting like they're all surprised. Well, as popular as the show is, they shouldn't be. Street Outlaws, the list. It's kind of a racing game from, I guess, a TV show called Street Outlaws. Usually those reality shows are fake, and they've always got one douchebag that wants to yell at everybody. I think he only does it for the camera. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. It's a remake of an old PS2 game. A lot of critics don't like it, I guess, because the graphics aren't up to par, or they're not remastered graphics. Oh well. This is from Limited Run. I bought it at Best Buy. Donut County. And what it is you're this big hole. And I forget for what reasons. You start out as a small hole, kind of like Katamari Damacy. And what you have to do is you have to move the hole around to suck up, to make items in the area shrink. And the bigger the hole gets, the more items you're able to shrink down. And you have a time limit as to how many items you can shrink and what you have to shrink down. And it's a pretty fun game. If you like Katamari Damacy, this one's a little more chill than Katamari Damacy. And the controls are better, I think. But if you like that, you'll love this. Gigantosaurus, the game. Based on I believe it's a TV show, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that. Xcom 2 collection. The Xcom 2 games from the PS3 and PS4. It's probably got, I think, 1 game. But I don't know if it's, you have to doubt how much code you have to put in. Borderlands Legendary Collection. It's got Borderlands, Borderlands 3 sequel, and Borderlands 2. You don't hear a whole lot of hype about these games. I guess people weren't excited about them coming out. BioShock, the collection. BioShock Remastered, BioShock Infinite, and BioShock 2 Remastered. And you have to download some stuff. I don't know how much. There's that. Party Arcade. I bought this for about 10 bucks, I think. It's got air hockey, ping pong, puck bowling, hoop shot, skill ball, which is skee ball. They just don't, for some reason, they, as if the word skee ball was trademarked. I don't think it is. But there's that. Resident Evil triple pack. I got this for cheap. I didn't pay the full price for it because you're only getting one game on here, technically. You're getting Resident Evil 4, which is a good game, which some say was one of the last great Resident Evil games. But you got to download 5 and 6, and I'm not going to pay full price just to download those 2 games, but I did get it for the 1 game. Sayonara Wild Hearts. This is a crazy rhythm type game where you're driving a motorcycle. You're not even a motorcycle all the time, but you're going through this track, and you have to hit these certain objects, and you have to shoot things, and you're getting into fights and whatnot, and you have to do it rhythmically, and it's hard to explain. I might go ahead and do a review of it sometime. That's what I need to do. I need to start doing reviews. I'm trying to make this show more unique. From Limited Run Games, I got, from Best Buy, I got Deadly Premonition Origins. Now, I didn't know when I got this at the time. This is basically almost a point-and-click type adventure, only there's a little bit of action in it. But I didn't know at the time that this was one of those so bad it's good kind of games. I didn't know that at the time. I assumed they remastered it, remade it because people loved it so much. They must like it enough because they made a sequel to it. Excuse me. Power Rangers, Battle for the Grid. Not a big Power Rangers fan, but they say this fighting game is a hidden gem, so I went and bought it cheap at Best Buy. Saints Row the Third, the full package. I'm surprised that this isn't getting a lot of hype. It's an open world game with a little bit of a lot of craziness and a sense of humor, I guess. And Saints Row 4, Re-Elected. Burnout Paradise, Remastered. I believe that is a PS2 game that has been remastered. And critics have gone gaga over it. Professional Farmer, Nintendo Switch Edition. For the life of me, I can't tell the difference between these farming simulators and these professional farmer type games. I don't know what the difference is between any of them, to tell you the truth, besides brand names. But they must sell. People love them. They keep making sequels to them. Narcos, Rise of the Cartels. This is a strategy RPG type game, or tactical game. And it's not getting good reviews because I guess they say it's kind of run-of-the-mill. But it's licensed off the TV show, which I'm not really interested in seeing, to tell you the truth, because I don't want to see a show where everybody behaves badly or the cops behave is just as bad as the drug dealers or whatnot. American Ninja Warrior Collection. This is basically a bunch of American Ninja Warrior, the American version Ninja Warrior games, which are probably not as tough as the Japanese ones. Blasphemous from Limited Run. This is a Metroidvania game. It's very dark and it's very tough. But it's still kind of fun, but it's kind of getting repetitive. I'm just wondering, I haven't seen a whole lot of new powers in it yet. Oops. Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection. It's got 6 Mega Man Zero games. I don't know the difference between Mega Man Zero and Mega Man. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team. These are an amalgamation of the two DS games starring the Pokemon characters. It's a rogue dungeon game is what it is. Samurai Showdown. I don't think it's a remake. I think they just decided to do another Samurai Showdown game and call it Samurai Showdown instead of giving it a sequel title. Friday the 13th, the game, based on Friday the 13th. You can either play as Jason Voorhees or you can play as the survivors. I would play as the survivor, because I'm not into killing teenage kids. It's not my cup of tea. I got it because it was cheaper. Nickelodeon Kart Racers. I wasn't going to get this game, but then they said there's going to be a sequel, so apparently the first one is popular enough to where it warrants a sequel, and I got it for 20 bucks instead of the usual 39. 20 bucks might be too much for it. I got this from Best Buy, limited run game. Divinity 2, Original Sin. This is a Dungeons & Dragons type game. But it's not from Dungeons & Dragons, but it's an RPG, top-down RPG, where you control the character, you tell them where to go, and you tell them to fight and whatnot. On the handheld, it's kind of hard to see a little bit, though. That's one big problem on there. I like to play my games handheld if possible. Okay, Tales of the Tiny Planet. This is a puzzle game I ordered, I think, from Amazon.com overseas. There's a lot of games in Europe that they're not shipping here for some reason. But it's a puzzle game, physics puzzle game. You're trying to basically get this little ball to certain goals. You got to get him past spikes. You got to have him bounce in the right place. You got to move platforms to bounce where he needs to bounce and turn the platforms around and whatnot. The physics on this game to me are kind of shaky. That's my only problem with it. It's a good idea, but not well executed. Clubhouse Games, Worldwide 51 Worldwide Classics. On the DS, it's one of my favorite games, and it's got a bunch of, but the ones on the DS I think have a little more variety to their challenges, and not so many games based on luck. The games on here where you depend on luck to get through are kind of bad, especially the backgammon game. The backgammon game is just, I'm not a huge backgammon player, so I really can't explain, but you'll be lucky if you get anywhere in backgammon in this game, because the dice are always roll against you, and the dice always roll for the computer player. And they could have put a few more challenges in there, a few more. You could win the games easily. I've won just about every game on here. It's just trying to meet the challenges of some of that are listed on here. And there could have been more of them, I think, on disc. Wonderful 101, based on the Wii U game. One of the first Wii U games. Ghost Parade. This is basically a platformer that you have a ghost following you, and I guess you're joined by different ghosts, but I haven't gotten past the first level because sometimes you can't tell where the platforms are or what to do or what you can and cannot do. So I'm not really too impressed with this game at all. I'd wait for it to become a real budget title. Okay, Super Beat Sonic. They got this on the PS Vita. I didn't know that at the time when I bought it. But it's a beautiful game, beautiful music. It's a rhythm game. Overcooked 2, the sequel to Overcooked, which is still kind of expensive to buy, which I don't understand why since it has a sequel, but there's that. And Octahedron. This is looks like it's in a digital type world. I bought it from Super Rare Games. You're basically, while your character is moving, trying to get from one place to another, you're creating platforms for him to jump, and you have to jump in such a way that he gets through it. But you basically control a lot of the platforms that are made. It's got electro music. Okay, last but not least, Root Letter. This is kind of a visual novel, but this is a visual novel where you actually have to figure out something. It's not one of those visual novels where you just read, where you just hit the A button. You have to make the right guesses and the right moves. And this one supposedly has a live action mode. This one I bought it really cheap, or I wouldn't have bought it probably at all. But it's got the game. And it was prelim. How much? Oh, I only paid 25 bucks for it. So there's that. A lot of those visual novel games, especially on the PS Vita, are still expensive. Why, I don't know. But you got this picture book, an art book here. And like I said, it's Root Letter, The Last Answer. and it's a mystery. Let me see what the mystery is. Yeah, you're trying to find your pen pal who's been involved in a murder. So there's that. Okay, guys, finally, those were my pickups for the months of April, May, and June. I hope this video wasn't too long. By the time I finish it, it might be in different parts. But go ahead and subscribe, if you will. Give me a thumbs up. Tell me what you think. I'm looking to hear your feedback. Looking to hear from new ideas. Here's some new ideas. See how I can make my channel better. In the meantime, you guys have a great July. And I'll be talking to you soon about July. And God bless. Have a good summer. Stay safe. Bye-bye.